Yo, what's up, guys? Recently, we went to the Boston Sax Shop, and I did a show with Cecil Alexander, a duo show that was a lot of fun. For the folks up in Boston, if you were there, thanks so much for coming out. Had a blast playing for you all. But one highlight of the day was while we were at Boston Sax Shop, we played a bunch of vintage horns. Now, we played through vintage horns that are arguably the most famous vintage horns and the best vintage horns ever released as far as saxophone production goes. And so we wanted to take that opportunity to document what we did, and we recorded me playing on each of these horns so you can check them out. If you're actually interested in purchasing any of these horns, I have an affiliate code that you can use that's in the description of this video. And it's worth noting, with a bunch of these vintage horns, we actually took inspiration for the design of the Nexus saxophones that we released. Those have been sold out for almost a couple months now, but Jack just finished setting up a new batch of horns at the shop. So this week we do have some in stock if you want to check those out as well. And you can take $300 off any of those horns with my code CLB300. All right, so the first horn that I played in the shop was essentially a Conn 10M, which is a famous large bore horn. Dexter Gordon was known for playing a Conn 10M for much of his career. But this specific Conn 10M is actually pretty interesting because the serial number from it implies that it might have actually been a Conn New Wonder saxophone, but the characteristics of the horn itself seem to be a Conn 10M. So definitely a unique serial number here on this horn. Essentially, it's a vintage Conn. Really great sound. Check it out. All right, so next up we've got a Conn New Wonder 1 in a gold plate finish. And the Conn New Wonders had an absolutely massive bore. This horn was a lot of fun to play. Let's check it out now. All right, next up we've got a King Super 20, and as you might even see here, the King Super 20 was certainly an inspiration for us visually when creating and designing the Nexus saxophones. Also, the King Super 20s, they're so famous for being played by the likes of Charlie Parker, Johnny Griffin, and so many saxophonists actually gravitated to this horn because the King Super 20 was made with pretty low action, which quite simply meant that you could just play faster, more comfortably on this horn. And again, if any of these horns interest you and you think you might actually like to get one of them, you're welcome to check them out at the Boston Sax Shop website, and you can actually use the code in this video description below to get a discount as well. All right, so this next saxophone, this is a really interesting fun fact. A lot of people don't realize this, but Selmer actually at one point purchased the rights to use Adolphe Sax's name, Adolphe Sax being, of course, the inventor of the saxophone. So Selmer purchased the rights to use Adolphe Sax's name in a line of saxophones. So it was the Selmer Adolphe Sax saxophones. And so this is one of those horns, and this was a lot of fun to play. All right, right, so next up we've got a Selmer balanced action, and so this is of course a very famous vintage horn. Let's check out what Jack at the Boston Sax Shop has to say about this one.
So this balanced action is kind of the granddaddy of the Mark VI. As Selmer continued to modernize and improve, I think the balanced action was kind of the first horn to start being more forward-thinking into what would eventually become the Mark VI. I call it the granddaddy because there is one lineage in between, which is the super balanced action. So again, the history here is balanced action, super balanced action, and then the Mark VI. This horn still features a much larger bore than what we're used to today, and inline keywork. The super balanced action was the first model to actually set up radial keywork, meaning the left and the right hand were separated from each other.
Now for this one, let's actually check out what Jack at the Boston Sax Shop has to say about this saxophone.
All right, so this is a Buescher 400, and it's not a Buescher, it's actually a Buescher. Most people don't know that. 400 top hat and cane tenor, and it's called a top hat and cane because of this beautiful engraving pattern on the bell that features a top hat, pair of gloves, and a cane, which kind of either reminds me of a magician or Gene Kelly. But either way, it's a very, very cool saxophone, and these kind of fly under the radar. They never got the same kind of play as, Conn's or King's, but they're wonderful American horns that also feature a bigger bore than anything you're going to find on the other side of the pond, and have an enormous spread flexible tone.
And of course, now finally we have the Selmer Mark VI, which is probably the most famous vintage saxophone ever made. This, of course, became the gold standard for its key work, intonation, and overall tone quality. Also, the Mark VI is one of the lightest saxophones ever made, if not the lightest. I do have to say, though, with Nexus, we actually were able to get down to the weight of the Mark VI and just slightly lighter. So I do think that we have maybe made the lightest saxophone ever made, or at least the lightest functional on-market saxophone. And so we will actually compare now with the Nexus at the very end of this video so you guys can hear how the Nexus sounds. Again, the Nexus took so much inspiration from these vintage horns, and you'll get to see how the Nexus sounds compared to all these beautiful vintage horns we have in this video. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching today. Hope you enjoyed this content. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and give this video a like and a comment in the comment section below. And make sure to check out these horns if you want to read more. Again, you can check that out at bostonsaxshop.com, and you can use the coupon code in the description below if you want to get any of these saxophones. You can get a discount there. Also, we have the Nexus saxophones, as I mentioned, back in stock after a couple months of being sold out. So if you want to use the code CLB300, you can actually take $300 off of a saxophone, off of a Nexus saxophone this week. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.